I just wanted to, I'm having problem here. Let me, just a minute. Okay, now I'm fine. Basically, like I said at the beginning, this COVID-19 is a pandemic. It's something that has disrupted our lives everywhere, all over the world, even us in Tanzania, I don't know, yeah, everywhere. So for me, as a psychologist, when I look at this pandemic, I find that it has brought a lot of, especially the stress that comes from it is what is devastating people. I am a counselor here. I deal a lot with the stress. And I would say, maybe the stress we are facing today is more than the COVID-19 itself. I don't know whether I will be right because I haven't done any research. So in this presentation today, I have prepared some tips on how to manage the stress, not only the stress from COVID-19, but stress in general. And like I started by defining stress. That was my definition. And in that definition, I said, there are two factors that are necessary for stress to be possible. And I want people to be aware of that. The first one is events that, yes, without events, there will be no stress. And we cannot live without events because living is about moving from one event to another. Life is about going through events. There are events in our lives that have shaped us. Hello? Are we okay? Albert, tuko sawa?
We can hear you, good doctor.
Okay, let's continue. So I say there are two factors that are necessary for stress to be possible, including the stress from COVID-19. First one is events. But events as events, like I said, are not sufficient to cause stress. We need this second factor, and which I want to ask you guys, all of you, to just pay attention to the second one, which is perception. And I went on to I gave you that picture that, all those things that are surrounding this person are not causing stress. According to my definition, what is causing stress is what is happening inside the head of that person. And that is inside the head of that person, there is a perception. So by perception, what do we mean by perception? Perception is what is going on in our mind. It is something that, all of us, we have a mind that is programmed in a certain way. And of course, our mind is always programmed by the environment that we live in, by the events that we meet in every day. From the moment we were born up to now, we are programmed differently. And that's why we think differently. So I went on to say that mind has got 4 levels, which I want people to be aware, because when you talk about managing stress, you have to be aware of those 4 levels. That's where the main work is done. The first level of our mind is our thinking. This is the most important level because that's what makes us who we are, what is going on in our thinking. And the thinking is what we use in living our lives. Our success, our failures, all that come from our thinking, depending on how we have programmed our thinking. Now, thinking is programmed in two ways. Either is programmed positively or is programmed negatively. Negatively is when we meet all those negative events, like what is happening right now. And positively, there are those events in our lives that really build us, that makes us think positively. And all those experiences, like I said, they are stored in our memories. Eh? Some people have their microphones on. Can you mute them, please, so that we can? Okay. So that is the first level we need to pay attention to. Your thinking. Are you aware of your thinking? Awareness of our thinking is very, very important. Why? Because depending on how we are thinking, whether negatively or positively, is going to create the second level, which is a very important level, and that is the level of feelings. So if you keep on thinking negatively, if you program your mind positively, you will have positive feelings. If you program your mind negatively in terms of thinking, if you keep on thinking negatively, you are going to create negative feelings. And actually, at the level of feelings, that's where we feel pain. When we talk about pain of the mind, actually, we are talking about our negative feelings. If you are programmed negatively, that's the pain. That's what we call in the psychology the disorders. The mental illnesses. Actually, it's the accumulation of those negative feelings. Hello, Albert. Hey. Yeah. Okay. I want people to be aware of that. So when we talk about stress, actually we are talking about the pain, which are negative feelings. All those negative feelings like sadness, disappointment, fear, worries, anxieties, all those things that we experience, they are coming from our negative our negative thinking. I want people to be aware of that. So when we talk about, when we go back to our definition, that stress, in order for stress to be possible, we need two factors. Yes, there are events, like right now we are going through the COVID-19, but that in itself is not enough. It depends on what is going on in our mind. And what is going to bring pain in our life is the feelings. And the feelings come from the thinking, the negative thinking. I want people to be ready to be aware of that. So when we talk about stress management and the managing stress that comes from COVID-19, all those worries and anxieties we have, when we talk about managing them, it means we have to take our feelings from the level of negative feelings to positive feelings. Positive feelings are things like happiness, things like happiness, things like calm, things like confidence. All those come from our positive thinking. That's why we insist when we talk about the health of the mind. The health of the mind is about engaging into positive thinking. We have to create the behavior of thinking positively. That's how we are going to manage, especially these negative events that happen in our life. We have to face the negative events in our life feeling positively. Otherwise, we are going to be broken in those negative events. Now, I said mind has 4 levels. According to how you are feeling, whether you are feeling positive or negative, it is going to push you to engage into actions. You know that we human beings, we are beings of actions. And the actions are the ones that change our life. If you don't act, your life will remain like that. If you act positively, your life is going to be positive. If you act negatively, your life is going to be negative. So who we are depends on our actions, and our actions come from how we feel. I want people to remember that. And how we feel depends on what is going on in our mind, our thinking. And our thinking, like I said before, thinking is influenced by our memory, what is stored in our memory. From the moment we are born, all those experiences, they don't go away. They affect us, depending on how we have entertained them. When they are in our memory, they are going to influence our thinking. So our actions, what we do, depends on how we feel, like I said. Now, if we keep on acting in a certain way, we develop the fourth level of our mind, which is our behavior. Okay, if we engage into healthy actions, we will end up creating healthy behaviors. If we engage into unhealthy actions, which is negative actions, we will engage into unhealthy behaviors. So now we have COVID-19. It is an event that is, it's a very negative event. The question is, which I want everyone to ask himself or herself, is how am I taking this event, COVID-19 actions? There are people at the end of the COVID-19, they will be broken down. Why? Because they are facing this event, which is terrible event. They are facing it with negative thinking. I hope that is clear. Now, at the behavior level, behavior is what actually is what makes us. Once you get used to doing things in a certain way, that is going to be part of your personality. That is going to be part of you, because always we are our behaviors. And our behaviors is what we have practiced for a long time, of course, being pushed by our feelings and our thinking. So these behaviors, if we continue them, they are the ones that are going to shape our lives. We are our behaviors. And our behaviors, like I said, I'm repeating this so that people can really grasp it. Our behaviors come from our thinking. It is a process that goes on for a long time. If you leave your thinking and the feeling, and if you start actions, if you leave them to reach at the level of behavior, that is going to stay with you for a long time. So when we talk about our mind, our perception, actually, we are talking about those four things that we need to be aware of. Now, if, like I said in that statement, that when we are stressed, we easily engage in unhealthy behaviors. In order to rescue the situation, you see at those unhealthy actions that we engage in, actually, they are actions that we are engaging in order to rescue ourselves from the pain. Like right now, we have COVID-19. There are people who are going to develop certain behaviors which are unhealthy. Those are bad. You need to be aware of them, because they are going to, they have consequences that I'm going to talk about. So the example of unhealthy behavior that we may engaging. They are like excessive alcohol consumption, things like drug use, things like excessive eating. When you eat because you are stressed, normally you eat badly. They say when we have stress, high-fat diet are very, very, we like them. Things like chips and eggs and sugars. It's like nature is pushing you to eat in order to come out of the pain that you are experiencing. Those negative feelings. So be careful. Be careful. What is pushing you? What kind of behaviors do you have? Things like unhealthy sexual practices. When we engage into sex because we have this pain, because we have stress, we will end up into catastrophic situations, especially when we engage into sex when money is involved, both the one who is giving and the one who is receiving. Normally, that's what happens. It's like when you are stressed, you go out there, you are even ready to buy it. No, sex is a gift that God has given us so that we can stay into relationships, we can get into a relationship, but not for treating our stress. Time wasters. When we are stressed, we tend to waste a lot of time. It's like you have this pain that is pushing you into engaging into trivial activities that really don't even contribute into your growth. Things like nowadays we have telephones, instead of work or instead of doing things that are beneficial to you, you engage. A lot of us are spending a lot of time on telephones, and that happens as if we don't look at our stress and deal with our stress, we will end up doing that. Tasa, when we engage into unhealthy behaviors as a way of removing our stress, we get the opposite. Prolonged unhealthy behaviors may lead into two types of reactions, and I want people to be aware of this. The first one is negative psychological reactions. When we talk about negative psychological reactions, what are we talking about? Those negative. We are talking about negative feelings. That's what it is. When you keep on thinking negatively for a long time, producing negative feelings, the result is negative psychological reactions. There are primary psychological reactions, which are four. The first one is anxiety. Worries, especially when you are worried, and when someone asks you, why are you worried? You don't know. You don't know why you are worried. So anxiety is one of the symptoms of our stress. If you are anxious all the time. Another one is anger. You see yourself, you are angry. And when you go to analyze why you are angry, you can't even get the answer. Anger, and anger, when you are angry, either you tend the anger to other people, you become aggressive. I think people who are aggressive for no reason sometimes. I mean, for no reasons according to you, but for them they have always a reason. Aggression. Aggression is anger turned outwards, or when you turn anger inward, it becomes a depression. Okay, those actually are primary symptoms that come out when we are under stress for a long time. Now, if you continue expressing these four, they will take you into secondary negative psychological reactions. And these, we call them disorders. we call them psychological disorders. And these are like substance-induced disorders. We find our, some people have their microphones. Can you mute them, please?
Could you please mute yourselves?
Yeah, I'm trying. I found this is very important to explain to explain to you when we have stress and we don't do anything about it. And of course, not that you don't do anything about it. Normally, you can't stay without doing anything about it. You will do something, and that is you will engage into unhealthy behaviors. So when you engage into unhealthy behaviors for a long time, it leads into two types of reactions. That's what I'm explaining. There is negative psychological reactions, like those. We call these primary symptoms. If you stay, if you remain with them for a long time, they will lead into secondary negative psychological reactions. And here, these are the ones that we call disorders. These are mental illnesses. Things like substance-induced disorders. We mean addiction, substance addiction, sort, alcohol, drugs, cigarette, and all those. Mood disorders, we don't have time to go into details on these. Mood disorders, we are either up or down. So when we are up, we call it mania, we are manic. When we are down, we call it depression, okay? And then when we have both, when we alternate, 1 week you are up, another week you are down, we say you are bipolar. Those are mood disorders. Anxiety disorders, those panic attacks, obsessive compulsive disorders, and all that, you are anxious. All those phobias, those are secondary negative psychological reactions. And actually, these secondary negative psychological reactions, they interfere with your daily functioning. And that's why most of when you reach there, you have to take them. You have to go for counseling and all that. You go to see experts. Psychotic disorders. That's when we reach psychotic disorders. Is when we are incapable even of we are incapable of a real life. We start hallucinating. You see things that are not there. You hear things that are not there. Psychotic disorders, things like disorder like schizophrenia and all that. Eating disorders. I don't know if you are aware of those eating disorders. There is bulimia and anorexia. Those are eating disorders. Somatoform disorders. You feel you have pain in your body. You go to hospital. They say they don't see anything wrong, and then those are somatoform. They are examples of somatoform disorders. Dissociative disorders is not being aware of your environment. You have disturbances in your consciousness. You may not know where you are. You may not be aware of where you are or where you are going. We call them dissociative disorders. Sleeping disorders, absence of sleep and sleeping more than you need. Sexual and gender disorders. The stress affect our functioning sexually. Conduct disorders, all those disorders that
Doctor?
Yes. Hello? Are you getting me?
Yes, we're getting you.
Someone called me, so that's why. Okay. Factitious disorders. These are disorders that we tend to make symptoms. We tend to create disease in us. They are called fictitious disorders. So I just see, I'm not going into details because we don't have time. I want you to be aware that when I'm stressed for a long time, the result is this. I will end up having disorders. Now, when you look at yourself, of course, we all have symptoms of these. Eh? I don't want people to come out of this presentation thinking that they have disorders. No, we are talking when, especially these secondary disorders, when they interfere our daily functioning, when we find ourselves we can't do our duties because we have this pain, that's what we are talking about. Now, that is a first reaction. The second reaction, when you have this for a long time, they tend to become physical, negative physiological reactions. Okay? You know, when you are hungry, when you are angry, when you are aggressive, when you are depression, and when you are anxious, and it leads to these disorders, what happens, you know, this anxiety, these negative feelings, they are happening in your body. So they disturb all those internal organs, like the heart, like the kidney, like the liver, like the stomach, all those organs, they are very important for you to survive. Now, when you are under stress, the functioning of those get disturbed, and that's when it's very easy to get into illnesses like those illnesses, heart diseases, diabetes, impairment of the immune system, headaches, and all that. Those physical ailments, most of them, actually, people say almost 80%, more than 80% of the problems we take to hospitals, they start from in our mind. So when we talk about stress management, we are talking about something very, very serious. The main cause, some people have done some research, they found that the main cause that is leading into a lot of deaths is stress. But normally we don't see it as stress. We see these as physiological reactions, but in actual fact, they start as stress. So when we talk about stress management, it is something that each one of us must engage in. How do we manage stress? Up to here, I think you are aware that when we talk about managing stress or stress management, we mean mind management. Okay, mind management. I'm not sure how you guys, you are managing your mind, especially right now. There is a, hello? Someone called me. Okay. Mind management. Guys, I want people to come out of this session thinking about managing their mind. And I've already shown you. What it means is by continuously being in charge of your own thoughts. Be in charge of your thoughts. Don't let thoughts that are not true stay in your mind. They are going to lead into creating negative feelings. I want people to remember that. All those worries, sadness, those are not good for you. They are going to ruin your life. They are going to ruin your body. Okay? So be in charge of your own thoughts. There are thoughts you have that come from childhood that are not true, and they continue influencing you. Deal with them. At the level of thinking, that's where we have power. We can change our thinking. By being in charge of our thoughts, through programming them, like I said, we can influence our feelings. And this is not something that you do once in a while. You have to do it all the time. You have to do it all the time. Research says that in order to have a new behavior, if you have a behavior that you don't want, and you want to have a new behavior, it takes almost 66 days where you have to engage into actions of creating that behavior for 66 days consecutively, every day, deliberately doing certain actions in order to create that behavior. But before you engage into actions, remember that diagram, you have to start at the thinking level. The thinking level, that's where we have power. I mean, you can't, for example, if you are feeling sad, you can't say, okay, now I don't want to feel sad. It's not possible. You have to go at the thinking level and try to challenge those thoughts that are making you feel sad. Because if you don't do it, that feeling sadness will push you into unhealthy actions. And if you repeat those unhealthy actions, they will lead into unhealthy behaviors. Okay? So when we talk about mind management, I mean, stress management is that, including the stress that comes from COVID-19. We have to be in charge of our mind. And of course, we have come into COVID-19 having a different state of mind. So this is not about managing thoughts that are coming now, but it is about managing all thoughts that we have been having throughout our lives. Because if people who are anxious naturally, when something like this comes, it will make them more anxious. If people lead a sad life, and when COVID-19 comes, or when COVID-19 comes, it will make them more sad. So this is about looking at our entire life and try to really challenge our thoughts, which eventually will influence our habits and behavior. Okay? Now, I want to finish by, there is one section I want to finish with, and that section is about what are the environment that we should be in for us to be successful in managing our mind. Because if we have all these thoughts in our mind and yet we continue living in certain context, we will have no time to enter into our mind and challenge our thoughts. I don't know whether that you got that sentence. So for succeeding in managing our mind, we need to create certain atmospheres in our life. The first one, we have to try, not to try, we have to live a relaxed life. We have to practice relaxing. You know, without relaxed, you cannot even think about entering your mind and changing what is going on. So relax. Of course, there are so many things. I mean, we live in a world that is very dangerous, that provokes us negatively. Okay? Yeah, we live in a world like that. But we have to come up with the strategy that helps us to relax. For example, one of the things that I ask people to do is to pay attention of your breathing. The way you breathe, it can relax you. You know, most of the time when we meet events that are anxiety provoking, we tend to breathe faster. So when you find yourself in that situation, try to slow down in your breathing. When you breathe in and breathe out for at least for 10 minutes, you find yourself relaxed. So don't face your events unrelaxed. It's going to cost you, okay? So that is it's a good practice that we can engage in. Another one, we try to balance between work and life. Most of us think that our employment, something that we give us our living, it's always very, very stressful, because when we go to work, everything is really structured and you have to fit into that structure, whether you like it or not. So what we encourage people to do after work, try to have another life, like family, especially family, be with people you love. Try to make a balance. Don't make work to be your entire life. Socialize with others. Don't live a lonely life. Whenever possible, to be with others in activities that you do. Socialize. Go to watch all these sports. They are very, very, these are very good areas to relax ourselves. And I always look at Europe. When you look at the stadiums in Europe, they are always full. That is a very important area. I mean, it's a very important place for us to socialize. But most of the time, when you look at our stadiums, they are always empty. So let's have that to socialize. If you like your team and it is playing, go there, cheer. Birthday parties, always celebrate them. Smiling is a great medicine. You know, when you smile, you are sending the message to the brain. You know, all these negative feelings, they are produced by the brain. It's the brain that acts inside us. It's a brain that acts inside us. But that brain receives messages from our thinking. When you think negatively, it means you are sending the message to the brain that things are not okay. And when the brain captures that the things are not okay, it tries to make things okay. It activates all those hormones, all those neurotransmitters that in us, so that we can fight or run away. You see, and those are the feelings. In the meantime, when the brain is doing that, for us, we experience that. That's when we experience feelings. So when you smile, you are sending the message to the brain that I am okay, so that the brain doesn't activate. There is a system in us that is called sympathetic nervous system. When sympathetic nervous system is activated, that's when we have all these negative feelings. We feel negative. We want to run away. We feel worried. We feel sad. We feel, depending on what depending on the message that you are sending to the brain. So smiling is good. When you are in situations you feel worried or you have stress, just smile. When you meet people, practice to smile at them. It's a great medicine. Live a healthy lifestyle. Eat well. It's very important. What we eat, like I said, when we are stressed, we normally eat that things are not. We always eat food that are not good for our bodies. Try to meet a balanced diet. When you meet a balanced diet, your body relaxes. And it is very easy for you to start thinking properly. Getting enough sleep. Sleep is very important because when we sleep, our brain is a kind of starts servicing itself. It's like a car. When you run a car, after some miles, you have to take it for service. The brain services itself during when we go to sleep. Now, it is very important to have enough time to sleep. Like normally they say from 7 to 8 hours. Why? Because when we sleep, we go through stages of sleep. And the stage when the brain starts servicing itself is about, it's a fourth stage. The fourth stage happens at the 7th to 8th hour. So if you sleep, let's say 2 hours or 3 hours, your brain is not going to get time to service itself because it takes time. You have to have been sleeping for quite some time before the brain starts saving itself. So it's very important to have enough sleep. Exercise, I think you know the importance of exercise. And it relaxes your body, your muscles. When your muscles relaxes, all that, it is very easy for you to start thinking properly. Prayer is a very, very important activity because when you pray, you are acknowledging that there is a higher power than you. You know, what makes us stressful and our life miserable is when we make ourselves the center of the universe. You know, it's like everything rotates around you. That's very stressful. But when you go to pray, you are acknowledging that you know you are not the center of the universe. There is something that is the center of the universe that is controlling you and is controlling everything else. So it's being in that way of state, being in that state, it helps you to think positively. So prayer is very important. Now, no matter how we pray, prayer must have 3 components. I don't care how you pray, to whom you pray, whether you are a Christian, you are Muslim, you are whatever, even if you don't even believe in God, but you know that there is a higher power that is controlling everything. When you go to pray to that thing we call higher power, there must be 3 components. One, you have to express trust. You have to, in you have to trust that there is the higher power, and that higher power is going to do good to me. Things will be okay. Like right now we have this pandemic. You know, prayer can be helpful, trusting that yes, there is this pandemic, but things will be okay because there is the higher power that controls everything. And then there must be actions. Yes, I trust that the higher power is going to make everything okay, but the higher power is not going to make everything okay without me. I have to engage into actions. This, when you look at our world, there are all these rules of, there are laws of nature, which should be obeyed. So we have to get into actions, obeying those rules like this, during this COVID-19. Yes, we have to pray because there is a higher power, but at the same time, we have to listen to all these experts who are telling us what to do. So after praying to the higher power, when we get out, we have to act. We have to wear masks. We have to wash our hands. We have to. That is in the case of COVID-19. But into our other lives, other things in our lives, we have to act. We have to act. We have to work towards our success. Of course, while praying so that the higher power helps us, but after praying, we have to get into action. And then gratitude. Everything that happens, in our life has something to teach us, has something to contribute into our lives. Even those bad experiences, like this COVID-19, what can we be grateful for this COVID-19? So when we get into prayer, we have to create these three behaviors. They will help us a lot. Seek professional counseling, especially when it reaches at that secondary. You remember those negative psychological reactions, the secondary, those, when it becomes the disorders, most probably you are not going to come out by yourself. You need someone. And the best place to go is counseling. Counselors are people who are trained to listen to you, to help you in the programming of your thinking. That's what counseling is all about. Actually, it's about programming our thinking so that it can trickle down to our behavior so that we can have different behaviors. That's what counseling is all about. So there are people out there who are trained to do that. At AAR, like I said, we have employee wellness program. At AAR, we have a program which we have created for people in employment. Like I said, in employment, there is a lot of stress. There is a lot of stress. So AAR, we have a program that will help employee in the employment context. When you go like to our counterparts in Europe or USA, there are a lot of these programs, except hello, someone, okay. So this employee wellness program, it can be beneficial to, I don't know whether you guys, you have it. It is, you know, at AAR we have insurance, medical insurance, but also when the company or whoever wants this program has to, it is not covered by the medical insurance automatically. The amount of money has to be added in order to use that program. It is we have been having it since 2011. We have received a lot of positive feedbacks from our clients. So we encourage those who don't have this employee wellness program to have it. Now, the goal of employee wellness, this EWP, is of course to improve the health of employees. When you increase the health of the employees, of course you increase efficiency, and that's good for the employer. So there are those benefits that employer will increase productivity, but at the same time, the employees will improve their health. Like I said, like I mentioned, there are two main modalities that we do it. We offer counseling for those who have taken the program, the employees, and then we do workplace trainings, different trainings. You can come up with a topic or we can come up with a topic. So that's one way of managing yeah, I also encourage people to read self-help books. There are self-help books. These are books that when you read them, please someone, would you mute your microphone? Someone.
If someone mute his microphone, please. Doctor, you can proceed.
Okay. Another way of managing our stress, we have to read self-help books. Self-help books, they are books that really help us, help our growth. help our, we can counsel ourselves. They can help us. You know, we are talking about programming our mind positively. We have to read. There are a lot of informations there out there through books. People have written books. Like I have two here. These are my books that I have written. Honest Living. Another one, From Powerless to Powerfulness. These are just examples of self-help books. Yeah, maybe I think I have talked for a long time. Maybe let me stop here and invite people to ask questions if there are questions or clarifications, or if someone wants to comment on something. Albert?
Yes, Dr.
The floor is yours.
Okay.
If there is any question or me, I've finished.
Hello, Madam Lucy, are you there?
Hello, yes, I'm here.
Yes, Dr. is welcoming for any question if there might be. Hello?
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. BALIGE. That was very informative and interesting. Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask? Hello? Hello. Kama kuna maswali, mnaweza kuuliza. I think silence might mean
they have understood.
they have understood.
Lucy, hi.
Yes.
Hello,
Stafford.
Yes, let me just pose a question
Yes.
to our good doctor.
Yes.
In the current environment, COVID-19 environment, where there's so many stress triggers. For instance, there is so much uncertainty in the world as to what would happen. Like, for instance, companies are closing, people are losing jobs, families are not earning an income. I'm just wondering whether, even if one tried to be, so positive or control the thought process, whether one would still be able to achieve the intended result. Maybe you can highlight how one can go about it with so much negative things going on around at the moment. Parks are closed where people can, go and maybe relax. You can't go out there and interact with friends as we used to do in the past. How can one just lessen the stress at the moment?
Very good. It's a very good question. And actually, sometimes when they ask me to do this presentation, I get somehow scared because, I get somehow scared because it's like, it sounds very simplistic. Be positive. Yes, it's not easy to be positive, especially at this time, like you are saying. But my friend, I don't know of any other shortcut. I wish I had one. We have to engage into positive thinking. There is no other way around it. And not about COVID-19, all those things you are saying. I mean, it's our entire life. Things are like that. There is you know, our world is full of events that even to start thinking positive, I mean, it's like there is no room, but there is no shortcut around that. We have to program ourselves positive. Like I said, we have to create mazingira. We have to create the environment, like those things I said, to relax, to pray, to make sure we balance our work and life. We have practice. We have the food we eat, all those, eat well, find time to sleep. Those are very important activities that will help us in programming ourselves positively. Now, programming ourselves positively is not also easy. Why? Naturally, our mind is programmed to think negatively. Okay? Yeah, someone was talking there. So our mind is programmed to think negatively. Okay? You know why? So that we can survive. We are not actually, nature doesn't allow us to relax. If you relax, things can go bad. That's why, for example, fear, all those negative feelings we talked about, they are necessary for us to survive. But we are talking about you have to measure them. You have to measure them to see, when do I need these negative feelings, and when do I need to be positive in order to have certain positive feelings, because those are necessary to launch me into positive actions in order to create positive behavior. So right now, the challenge maybe I'm giving you, COVID-19 is an event, but it's an event that is going to pass. But ask yourself a question: when COVID-19 is gone, am I going to remain with these negative thoughts in my mind that are going to influence me even post COVID-19? And I think that's the challenge which each one has to take on. I don't know if I have responded to your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Force yourself to be positive. It's very important. Yeah. Okay.
Lucy, it's Munesu.
Hello, Munesu.
Yes, is it possible that we can get this presentation, which is very insightful?
Okay. Yeah. It is.
Yes, we have recorded it, and with AAR's permission, we will make it available.
And also, we would like Doctor to share the hard copy to you or to me.
Oh, sure. I will share it. No problem.
Okay, Doctor, I have one question.
Yes.
Yeah, with this COVID-19 pandemic, we have debates, or we have two schools of thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah, some people says we should not be hearing the number of dead because it creates fear, and at the end of the day, we fail to fight COVID-19. And others say no, is a word of openness. When a person dies, it should be counted. Today 200, tomorrow 500. Does this affect really our way of living with this disease? And that what is your take? Should the number not be announced?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in order not to create fear.
Well, I'm going to respond as a psychologist. Okay.
Yes.
I know other people can respond differently. As a psychologist, for me, I would say, what do you want to do with those numbers? That's one. It's how do you want to use them? Now, when I look at, I'm in Tanzania here, when I look at our experience here, me as a psychologist, I would say I don't want to hear them, because they are, when we talk about, they are not helping in my positive thinking. Why do I want to hear people who have died? Yeah, now each one has to answer that question by himself or herself. But psychologically, if you want the health of the mind, they are not very helpful. You know, they are not very helpful. They create fear, those negative. If you have got that series, negative, they create fear, they create all those. And we want to diminish that. So I'm not saying they shouldn't be given, but you are giving them for what? What is your purpose? If your purpose is to help, fine. But they are not helpful as far as psychological health is concerned.
Probably, doctor, when you hear the number is rising, you be smart and you keep yourself safe. And if you don't know the magnitude of the issue, it means you become reckless. So how do you balance the two? Creating fear and also becoming reckless.
And that's why I said it depends on how you are using them as an individual. How you are using, they can both, all those things you are talking about, they are true. You can create fear, or you can use them by I mean, when you mention numbers, what you are saying is, hey, the disease is here. Be careful. And these are the people who have died or who have contracted this disease. Okay, so you will help someone to be aware that the disease is there. But that same someone, from my experience, that what I have seen here in Tanzania, that person can be fearful. Now, when I look at my experience, like I said, for me, like here in Tanzania, before, I mean, they have stopped giving those numbers. And before they were giving those numbers, I see a lot of, like right now, I see people, since they stopped giving, I see people are very relaxed.
Yeah, correct.
Now, is that relaxation good? It can be good or bad, depending on what is going on.
Correct.
See, I don't know if you are getting what I'm saying.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Doctor.
Karibu.
Are there any more questions? Kuna maswali yoyote huko juu?
Anaweza kuuliza hata kwa Kiswahili. Kiswahili nakijua.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Doctor. I think everybody's asked their questions. And thank you very much again for this presentation. It was very enjoyable and insightful.
Thank you.
Yes. And yeah, we would appreciate it if we could get a copy of a hard copy of the presentation.
Oh, sure. I will send it.
Yes.
Okay, asanteni.
Asante sana. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much, Herbert, if you're still there. He's not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, Doctor.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. Okay.